right? The video is going to start off very silent.
Yeah. It's a nice change of pace, you know. So our first step is to group a certain kind of terms together. We're going to group the like terms together because those are the terms that we're able to add and subtract. So we're going to group the like terms together. Someone remind me, what's a like term? Same, not necessarily number, same variable, and then the variables have to be to the same exponent of power. Very good. And then we're going to add the coefficients. Add the coefficients of the like terms. The coefficients are just the numbers that are being multiplied with the like term. You would add or subtract those based upon the signs you see. So just like normal. Okay, we've done that before, just in a much smaller setting. Now we're going to write all the terms in order of the degree, of the x value from the greatest to least. X is just our first variable alphabetically. So that's just saying, the last one's really just saying writing it in standard form. The last one's just writing it in that standard form we just kind of talked about, we just worked on for a little bit. That's what that's talking about. So if we look at number 1 here, give an example of finding the sum or difference. We say, okay, we have this polynomial in the first parentheses, this polynomial in the second parentheses, and we have a plus sign between them. So we're adding 2 different polynomials. Hey, what? No way, we're working on adding polynomials in this section? Wouldn't have guessed, okay? So adding polynomials. So here, do we see any like terms across these polynomials?
Probably.
More importantly, what's the biggest power of like term that we see right now? 2, okay? So we have 4a to the second, and does that match up with anything over here?
Yeah.
Negative 9a squared, okay? Now what I'm doing, I want you guys to kind of follow this process. I think it'll be very helpful for us, is I put 1 underline underneath each of those. And do we have any other like terms with those that are a squareds? Oh, but not squared, okay? So what would be our next one that we have? 7a. So I'm going to put not 1 underline, but how many? 2. Very good. And then is there anything that's a like term with 7a? 2a. So I'm going to put 2 underlines under there as well. So that's telling me is the ones with 1 underline are like terms, and they're going to go first because they're the biggest power of a. Going in descending order. The ones with 2 underlines, those are going to go second because they're the next power of a, and they're also like terms. So what am I going to do with negative 12? Added negative 6. What sign am I going to? What am I going to put underneath here?
3.
3 underlines. 1, 2, 3. And what am I going to put under negative 6? 3 underlines, because that's going to go third in my order.
Or you could like circle them or something.
You could circle them and stuff like that. I think circling them can get a little more confusing for us than the underlines. But if that works for you, I suppose, go ahead. But this is what I found to be very helpful. So here, we look for our first underline, just 1 underline, because that's going to be first. Okay, think first, second, third, and first, second, third for number of underlines. So we say 4a squared plus negative 9a squared. What would that end up being? Negative 5a squared. So we actually combine those. So we say a squared and a squared, those are like terms, so we take the coefficients and we add them. So it's 4 plus negative 9, we said it's negative 5. And leave that a squared there. We took care of the ones with the 1 underline. So now we have to do the ones with the how many underlines? 2. Very good. So 7a and 2a. Positive 7a plus 2a is 9a, because 7 plus 2 is 9. And how many underlines do we look at next? 3. So Kennedy, what are our 2 with 3 underlines? Very good. Negative 12 and negative 6. We have to make sure to take that negative with the number on those. So what's negative 12 plus a negative 6? Negative 18. When they have the same sign, they're both negative, same sign and we're adding, you just add them together, but you keep the sign. So in this case, it's just negative becoming more negative here. Can we combine any more of these? Is it already in our standard form, our descending order? Yeah. We're done. Is that any new math? No. No, we're just applying it to something new. So the actual math isn't new, but some of the process is. We're applying it to polynomials now, even though the math itself is something we've done before. So number 2, what would I list first? Which of these things would I list first? 12b to the third? Oh, and I heard 12b to the third and 6a to the second.
Oh, but it has to be alphabetical.
It has to be alphabetical, so which would be first, the A's or the B's? The A's. So 6a to the second. Is there anything that matches up with that? 11a to the second. So I'm going to put 1 underline. Does everyone understand why we chose 6a to the second first instead of b to the third? That's a very important concept. Okay, so what would come next? Negative AA, because we follow suit with our A's. What would come next? Now we do our B since we ran out of our A's, and we go 12b to the third. So I'm going to put how many underlines beneath this? 3, because it's going to be the third thing we write. And what about 6b to the third? 3 underlines. Hey, but to be careful here, we got to be careful here. We're not adding polynomials this time. What are we doing with these two polynomials? Subtracting. So we got to be careful of a common thing for us to say is that we're just going to make this 11a squared negative. Well, we do that, but what else do we do? A common thing would be just to say, let's just make this one negative. But what else do we have to do? We have to make the 6b to the third the opposite sign as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to addition. We're going to say instead of subtraction, we're going to think of this as addition. Because we like thinking in terms of addition usually. It's usually a little bit easier for us than thinking in terms of subtraction, so we like that. And so we say, okay, we're going to change this sign. And if we're changing this from subtraction to addition, we have to change the sign of everything that follows it in the parentheses. We have to change the sign of this one and the sign of this one. So now we look and we say, okay, what has 1 underline with it that we need to start with? 6a squared and what else? Good catch there, Jackie. Negative 11a squared. So Rowan, what would be 6a squared plus negative 11a squared? Negative 5a squared. Negative 5a squared. Okay, so what follows with the 2 underlines? Owen? Nothing has 2 underlines? Negative 8a, but you're saying we can't combine it with anything. So what are we going to do with that? Just write it. Very good. If we can't do anything with it, let's just write it. Because it still has to go second. We already said, we said it has to go second because it's our next A. And A comes before B in our alphabet. Okay? So now we took care of the 1 underline, we took care of the 2 underlines. What's next? 3 underlines, right? Okay, Jason? What has 3 underlines here? 12b to the third and 6b to the, and negative 6b to the third. Okay, so we combine those since they're like terms, b to the third, b to the third. So we take 12 plus a negative 6. What would 12 plus a negative 6 be, Gabe?
6.
Positive 6. And it'd be b to the third, correct? Can we combine these anymore? No. Is the order good? Yeah. We have it alphabetical, right? A, then B. And we have the power inside of the alphabetical. We have it in descending order, 2 to 1. So that would be our answer. That would be our answer. Questions on that one? Okay, let's look at this third one real quick together. We'll look at the third one together here. This one, we have a little bit different stuff. We have an x and y's being kind of put together. We have some x and y's being put together here, so it's a little bit different. We have polynomials and we're adding, so we don't have to worry about changing signs. It's kind of nice when we already do addition, we don't have to change it to addition since it's there. We don't have to change the signs. So, if we look through this, what do we think would go first? Okay, 5x second to the y. And I heard someone say x, because x comes before y alphabetically, right? If you forget that, sing your song, you know, A, B, C, D, keep going. Or pull up an alphabet on your phone. I don't know why that keeps doing that. anything else that's an x squared y? This 2x squared y and the other one? Okay, but nothing else that's an x squared y, right? Because this xy squared and this xy, those are different, aren't they? They're not like terms because they're the different powers. So what would follow next? If we already took care of our x squared, that means we need to do some x to the first. But don't all of these have x to the first in them? So what I want us to do is I want us to say, okay, well, let's do ones with other variables first. So which of these x to the first have another variable attached to it? Okay, so when we have a tie, because we kind of have a tie, because this is x to the first, x to the first, x to the first, x to the first. So we have a tie. So our tiebreaker is going to be going to the next variable. So we want to say, is there an x variable in this one? Yeah. Is there an x variable in this one? No. Is there an x variable in this one? Is there an x variable in this one? No. So the two with the next variable are the ones that are going to come next. But here, which one would we put first? The one with y squared or y? We put y squared because we still want it descending. So let's put this one with 2 underlines. And are there any that are xy squared? No. So which one did we say comes right after xy squared? Just our xy. We want two variables, but only a power of 1 on the y. So we first look to organize by x's, and then when there's a tie, we say, okay, let's go with the next variable. And kind of do the same thing. So now after, excuse me, I need to do 3 lines there. I need to do 3 lines on that one, not 2, 3 lines, because it's different than our other 2-line one. So now, we have 5x or negative 5x and 7x remaining. Are those like terms? Yeah, because they both just have the same variable x, the same power of 1. So how many underlines am I going to put underneath this one? Very good. And how many underneath this one? Very good. Not 5, but 4, because they're like terms. So we look through these and say, okay, what do we look for first? How many underlines? 1, because we're going in order. So we look for 1 goes first. And we have 2 of them, so we have to combine them. So 5 plus 2 is 7, and we put whatever the variables are behind it. X squared y. So we took care of our first one. So now if we have 1 here, we need our second one. So what has 2 underlines? Plus the positive 3xy to the second. And nothing else, you don't have to combine it. Okay, we have 2 terms. 2 terms. So now we need our third term. What's our third term here? Minus 5xy, because that has 3 underlines all by its lonesome. And we look at this and say, okay, well, it has 4 terms. The negative 5x and the 7x have our 4 underlines. So how do we combine that negative 5x and that 7x here, Taylor? How do we combine this negative 5x and the 7x? Adam. So what's negative 5 plus 7? 2. So we have plus 2x. Can we do any more to simplify? No, we can't combine anything else. And is this in our standard form? Yeah, because we have, first of all, in alphabetical, x's come before y's, and we have x squared, and then we have powers of 1 for the x, so we say our tiebreakers are y's. Y squared, y, and there's no y. Questions on that one? So if we look at 4, say that we look at 4 here. One thing I actually want to say, let's do this part first, is let's take care of this subtraction symbol first. What are we going to change the subtraction symbol to? Addition. And then do I say, okay, we're good? No. What do I have to do here? Make everything the opposite sign. So this is positive, so it becomes, if this is negative, it becomes positive, and if this is positive, it becomes negative. So be very careful there. So that's the first thing I want us to do when we see negatives is like, oh, let's get rid of that. Let's change that around. So it's a positive. It's a plus. Because we're much more comfortable with adding numbers than we are with subtracting. Let's take care of that. And do it to everything that follows in the parentheses, everything that you'd be subtracting. So I want you to finish this one on your own. I want you to finish 4 on your own. When you're done, go ahead and raise your hand. there's anyone on the right yet. Anyone else check?
That's what I did. Oh my god.
Okay,
Wait, we come back. Oh, spirit, that's right. Did you get it right, I live on a golf course. You live on a golf course? She was really good. Go outside. So. Feels like Miss Alvarez. Everyone checks these. Except for Hey, stop it. You might freaking shoot that. I hate that. Why? Jake, wasn't the Dora? Hold yourself up with your arm. Dora. Dora. We were talking about how Miss Aubrey made you. I never used to. I was like, you're in a wheelchair paralyzed from the waist down. She said, don't hold yourself up with your arm. Austin, open the door. How rude. The door's open. Oh.
Get with it later. Yep.
Kennedy, I think that was the teacher that called me young man. She was going in the other direction when we were supposed to go to McLean. I was like, get over here, like we're going to McLean. She was like, no, I have to go talk to someone. And I grabbed her backpack, I was like pulling her.
Raise your hand if you haven't been checked yet on this. Raise your hand if you haven't been checked yet on this. Hey Josh, are you done? Okay. So Taylor, can you help out? Has anyone else not been checked yet? Okay.
And like he heard me talking.
Austin, you want to check Amber's? Thank you. Anyone else not been checked yet? Anyone else not been checked yet? Okay. So, Jocelyn, what did you get for your answer on number 4? Very good. This would be our answer, okay? We could go through this and say 1 underline, 1 underline, m squared, m squared. And they match up with the ends. 2 underlines, 2 underlines, m to the first, n to the first. 3 underlines for the constants, 3 underlines for the constants, and go through and combine them. Questions on that one? Okay. So we're actually going to move on from 5 and 6. But one thing I want to talk about real quick, actually, before you put that away, is just saying here, if we were to just kind of set this one up, and we did, first of all, change the signs. Here, what would come first?
4A2.
4a squared, you think? Why did you say 2a second b, Jackie? Okay, so we have a tiebreaker between our a squared. We have an a squared here, an a squared here, and an a squared here. The tiebreaker goes to whichever one has a second variable. So this would come first, followed by our other a squareds.
Oh, makes sense.
And then what would come after these a squareds? 5A, B to the second. That would come third. And then these other B to the seconds. Okay, so we have to be really careful in organizing those. Okay? Yes, you may.
My food such a bad line, not like you look so classy today. I know, don't I? No. You're dead for
Yep.
like. Oh my god, there's
On this one, there is one don't do. Don't do it.
toasty minutes.
Like a hot minute.
Tyler.
Alright, sorry.
Hi, Sid, I'm sorry.
Don't do number 10. I
That's it?
said there's one don't do.
What would you like? 6, 8.
That's not.
No.
No.
You most do 11.
Hey, when's this one gonna be due?
Tomorrow.
Thursday, which is their next class, okay?
Yeah.
Thursday, which is their next class. Hey, so, on this one, if we, what else is gonna be due? That 7.4 one, right? But most of us got a pretty good head start on it, if not finished that one, okay? Awesome. So go ahead, let's use this remaining 6 minutes. Let's get a head start on this worksheet as well.
It's 7 minutes.